This story shows a future world where today's common plastic and rubber toys are now outdated. They have been replaced by very advanced robotic toys. In the beginning of the movie, our main character, Cady, is going somewhere with her parents. All three look very happy. But while talking, Cady's dad gets distracted from the road and their car has a bad accident. Cady's parents die right there in the car. Fortunately, Cady survives. Later in the movie, we meet Gemma. Gemma is a tech expert who works on creating robotic toys for children. Alongside this, Gemma is also secretly working on a side project with two of her colleagues. This project is named M3GAN. M3GAN is a very intelligent robot that will not only play with children but will also protect them from every trouble. One day, while the three of them are working, their boss, David, suddenly shows up. He scolds the three of them severely for not telling him about this project. He tells Gemma that the robotic toy they launched last time was copied and launched by their competitor company as well. To this, Gemma tells him that if they succeed with the M3GAN project, M3GAN will create a sensation in the toy market. To prove her point, Gemma asks M3GAN to say hi to David. But M3GAN was not ready yet. She tries to say hi, but with a loud explosion, she breaks into pieces before saying anything. David gets very angry seeing this and asks Gemma to shut down the M3GAN project and focus on the normal office work. A little later, when Gemma is about to go home from the office, she receives a message that her sister has been in a car accident. Hearing this, she immediately rushes to the hospital. There, she finds out that only her sister's daughter, Cady, has survived the accident, and she is also badly injured. Fortunately, Cady's condition improves significantly after a few weeks. Although Cady's grandparents are also alive, Gemma takes custody of her herself. Gemma takes Cady home. Gemma's house is full of many robots. It's a new home, and seeing robots everywhere makes Cady feel a bit strange there. Gemma shows her the house and tries to make Cady feel easy there. However, Gemma also didn't have much experience handling children, which made her a little worried. The next morning, Gemma calls a child therapist to see Cady. After meeting Cady, the therapist tells Gemma that due to the robotic toys in her house, it might take some time for Cady to settle in. But since Gemma herself works at a robotic toy company, she knew that today's children have a greater attachment to robotic toys. At night, while Gemma is working, Cady comes and sits next to her. While talking, Cady asks Gemma about her work. Gemma tells her that she works at a company that makes robotic toys. Cady also loved robotic toys. She finds Gemma's work very amazing. Gemma shows her a robot she made for a college project. Cady really loves that robot. She even says that if she had a robot like that, she would never need to make any friends. She gets the motivation to keep working on the M3GAN project. She and her colleagues work day and night on M3GAN, and within a few weeks, they succeed. Then comes the day of M3GAN's testing. Gemma now only needed to see how M3GAN and small children would interact with each other. For this, Gemma probably wouldn't find any child better than Cady. To set Cady as the primary user in M3GAN's mind, Gemma asks Cady to touch M3GAN's hand and say her name. As soon as she does, M3GAN activates. Gemma had designed M3GAN very precisely. Upon activation, M3GAN begins to examine Cady's emotional state based on her facial expressions, and based on this, she starts talking to her. There was painting material kept in the room. M3GAN tells Cady that they should paint something. Although M3GAN doesn't tell her what she will paint, she just says she's going to paint something nice. After this, she starts drawing something on paper with a sketch pen, and a few moments later, she asks Cady to look at the painting she made. But when Cady looks at the paper, she is disappointed because M3GAN hadn't even drawn a single line on that paper. On top of that, M3GAN also spills water on the paper. David, who is watching from outside, also feels disappointed. He too feels that Gemma has failed this time as well to make M3GAN fully capable. But when Cady looks closely at the paper, she is shocked. Because of the water spilled on the paper, the picture M3GAN created starts to appear there. M3GAN had made an exact portrait of Cady. Seeing this, Cady is overjoyed. David is also thrilled with happiness. He had found the means to create a sensation in the robotic toy market. He assures Gemma that M3GAN's production will begin soon. Afterward, Gemma brings M3GAN home. As soon as M3GAN sets foot inside the house, she starts scanning everything. Gemma had designed her operating system in such a way that she would scan objects and store the information in her mind. Now M3GAN had only one job: to look after Cady. M3GAN was taking care of Cady's every little thing, whether it was reminding her to flush the toilet or wash her hands. At the same time, she was awakening her interest in studies by explaining the science behind even the smallest things used in daily life. Cady now spent all her time with M3GAN. M3GAN had become an inseparable part of Cady's life. Because of this, Gemma also started getting a lot of free time for herself. One such day, Cady is playing with her bow and arrow, and M3GAN is watching her play. Suddenly, Cady asks M3GAN to find her lost arrow. There was a fence between Gemma's compound and her neighbors. M3GAN sees the arrow has fallen into the neighbor's yard through that fence. She goes forward to retrieve it. But she didn't know that the neighbor also has a vicious dog. It catches M3GAN in its teeth and starts dragging her. Cady shouts loudly for help, but Gemma doesn't hear her voice because she is busy with her work. Cady then tries to help M3GAN herself. In this attempt, the dog bites her too. This time, her scream reaches Gemma. She immediately comes out of the house. By then, the dog had let go of M3GAN and Cady. Due to the dog, Gemma severely scolds her neighbor, but instead of apologizing, the neighbor talks back to her. M3GAN was staring strangely at the neighbor. Due to the dog bite, Cady's health deteriorates. A sense of revenge had awakened inside M3GAN. As night falls, she calls the neighbor's dog toward her in the voice of its owner. As soon as the dog comes near, she kills it. The next morning, the neighbor is calling out to her dog. Hearing her voice, Gemma wakes up. Gemma sees the neighbor and ignores her, going to Cady's room to check on her health. Cady's health had improved, but she wasn't completely well yet. Today was M3GAN's presentation in front of the board members at Gemma's company, and since Cady is M3GAN's prime user, her presence there is most important. Gemma tells Cady this. She also tells her that if she just wants to rest today, they can do this presentation later. But Cady agrees to the presentation. During the presentation, Cady was locked in a room with M3GAN, and the board members were keeping an eye on them both. Cady was sitting sadly in the room. At one point, she starts crying. Seeing her cry, all the board members begin to feel disappointed. But M3GAN handles this situation with great care. She asks Cady the reason for her sadness. Cady tells her that she still hasn't been able to forget the death of her parents. M3GAN asks Cady about her good memories of her mother. Cady tells her about the most memorable moments spent with her mother. M3GAN records all of this in the voice recorder fitted in her chest and says that now she can listen to this memory whenever she wants. After this, M3GAN also sings a song to change Cady's mood. The board members watching all this from outside are greatly impressed by M3GAN's cleverness. Some people even cry. The chairman was very impressed with Gemma. He gives permission to start M3GAN's production and also asks David to prepare the papers for Gemma's promotion. On the other hand, David's PA was stealing M3GAN's code. It turns out that the assistant was the man who sold the complete details of the products being prepared in the company to a rival company. Just then, David arrives. As soon as David comes, the assistant immediately shuts down the laptop. David assumes the assistant was watching a dirty movie. Because of this, he doesn't pay attention to his laptop. David asks him to prepare some papers related to the M3GAN project and leaves from there. The next day, the child therapist comes home to see Cady. After finishing the session with Cady, the child therapist concludes that Gemma has made a very big mistake. She says that when a child's parents die, they desperately need the support of another human being. In Cady's case, unfortunately, that support is M3GAN. This is why she has become too emotionally attached to M3GAN. According to the therapist, Gemma should have been M3GAN's place because M3GAN's presence has caused Cady to isolate herself from the outside world. If this continues, she won't be able to grow fully. At dinner time, Gemma talks to Cady about this. She tells her that she has found an outdoor school where children are taught in the lap of nature instead of being locked in a classroom. Gemma asks Cady to go out of the house and spend time with children like herself. Cady asks Gemma if she can take M3GAN with her. As soon as Gemma refuses, Cady gets up in anger and starts to leave. Gemma tries to stop her. But Cady, in anger, ignores her and tries to leave. M3GAN was also watching all this. She threatens Gemma to let Cady go. Gemma scolds her, saying she should not interfere in the private matters of users. Gemma commands M3GAN to shut down, and M3GAN asks her, like a human, if she is sure that she should shut down. Gemma commands her to shut down one more time, and then M3GAN finally switches herself off. Gemma goes over to M3GAN to see if she is truly off. However, just as she turns to leave, M3GAN opens her eyes on her own. M3GAN's actions suggested that she was slowly getting out of Gemma's control. The next day, Gemma takes Cady to the outdoor school. Cady was still insistent on keeping M3GAN with her. Just then, a teacher from the school comes over. She had overheard Gemma and Cady's conversation. She tells Gemma that Cady can bring her toy, meaning M3GAN, to school. They had created a special place for children's toys where they used to keep them. But because M3GAN had not been officially launched yet, Gemma was afraid that someone might steal her. M3GAN senses her concern and tells Gemma that she will always keep her GPS on so that Gemma knows her location. The teacher gives Gemma another suggestion. She says that Gemma can also stay there to keep an eye on M3GAN and Cady. Gemma finally agrees. The teacher was about to gather all the children to give them some activities. In the meantime, Gemma and the mother of another student, Brandon, were making sandwiches for the children. There's a brief conversation between Brandon's mother and Gemma, revealing that her son Brandon is a very naughty, misbehaved boy. The teacher then divides the children into groups of 2 to perform the activities. Unfortunately, Cady gets Brandon as a partner. When they both are performing the activity in the woods, Brandon suddenly starts bothering Cady. Just then, M3GAN arrives there. Cady is surprised to see M3GAN. Brandon asks her about M3GAN. Cady tells him she is a robot. Brandon goes to M3GAN to see her and tells Cady to ask M3GAN to talk to him. Cady tells him that M3GAN doesn't talk to anyone other than her. Hearing this, Brandon picks up M3GAN and runs into the woods. Cady calls out to Gemma for help. Gemma hears her voice and also sees that M3GAN is not in her place. She immediately runs towards Cady. On the other side, Brandon takes M3GAN to a secluded spot and starts hitting her. He had no idea what was about to happen to him. Suddenly, M3GAN activates. To teach Brandon a lesson, she mercilessly rips off his ear. Brandon somehow frees himself from M3GAN's grip and starts running away. But M3GAN wasn't going to stop there. M3GAN chases after him like a wild animal. While running, Brandon slips and falls directly onto the road. Before Brandon can recover, a car runs him over. M3GAN watches this horrific scene without any emotion. Afterward, the police interrogate everyone about the incident. M3GAN was reading Cady's expressions from the car window. Cady was very nervous. M3GAN understood from Cady's expressions that she was blaming herself for this. After returning home, Gemma calms Cady down. Gemma asks Cady to tell her what happened in the woods. Cady tells her that Brandon picked up M3GAN from where she was kept and ran away. She doesn't tell Gemma that M3GAN came to the woods herself. Just then, there is a knock at the door. It was the policeman. The policeman had come to inquire about the neighbor's missing dog. Gemma tells him she has no information about it. Just then, the neighbor shouts from behind, accusing Gemma of making her dog disappear. She says that M3GAN looks out of the window even at 3 a.m. She must have made her dog disappear. Gemma tells the policeman that M3GAN is just a toy. The policeman looks at M3GAN and gets lost in thought. He asks Gemma to inform him if she finds out anything and leaves from there. After he leaves, Gemma's neighbor comes in front of the house and shouts that Gemma must have made her dog disappear. At night, Cady asks M3GAN if she killed Brandon. M3GAN defends her action, saying that people like Brandon, who bother others for no reason, have no right to be alive. After this, M3GAN sings a lullaby to put Cady to sleep. For M3GAN, that neighbor, whose dog she killed, had become a threat. At night, when everyone is asleep, M3GAN gives the neighbor a painful death, putting her to sleep forever. She doesn't even leave any evidence behind. The next day, the policeman comes to Gemma's house once again. Gemma thinks he has come to ask about the dog again. However, he came to inquire about the neighbor's murder. The police also started to suspect Gemma. Due to Brandon's death at school and now the neighbor's neighbor's death, Gemma started to suspect M3GAN. She goes to check the camera recording fitted in M3GAN's body. She sees a recording there in which Brandon was present. But before Gemma could watch the entire recording, the recording shuts down. Along with this, the file of all the video recordings of that day crashes automatically. Gemma couldn't understand how all this suddenly happened. Just then, M3GAN comes there and asks Gemma what she is doing. Gemma tries to avoid the topic, but M3GAN is very clever and understands. From M3GAN's words, Gemma's suspicion almost turned into a certainty that M3GAN was behind those two murders. Gemma asks her to turn off, but M3GAN refuses to turn off. Before M3GAN could do anything, Gemma shows her a screw and very cleverly turns her off. After this, Gemma packs M3GAN without wasting any time and takes her to the office the very next day. But Cady was very upset about this. Her anger reached its peak because she had lost her best friend. Gemma fixes a meeting with Cady's child therapist right there in her office. After reaching the office, Gemma tells Tess and Cole about M3GAN being a murderer. However, it was hard for both of them to believe. The company was going to launch M3GAN in just 2 days. Because of M3GAN's advertisements, all the children were already eagerly waiting for the launch. Gemma tells them that they can't wait. If M3GAN is truly a murderer, they will have to prove it. Otherwise, David will never cancel M3GAN's launch. On the other hand, the child therapist was trying to calm Cady down, but Cady was mad with anger. She even takes a bunch of pencils in her hand to hit the child therapist. Just then, Gemma comes inside to calm her down. Gemma also tries to calm her, but Cady was not in the mood to listen to anyone. In anger, she slaps her. However, the very next moment, she realizes her mistake and apologizes to Gemma. A little later, when Gemma is taking Cady home, she receives a call from Tess. This call was actually made by M3GAN. She had updated herself to such an extent that she could control anyone's phone without touching it. Gemma tells her that she is going home. A little later, Tess notices her phone. She realizes that someone had used her phone to talk to Gemma. A little later, when Tess and Cole are checking the M3GAN system, their PC suddenly shuts down. Their suspicion immediately falls on M3GAN. When Cole goes to remove all the wires attached to M3GAN suddenly activates and quickly puts a wire around Cole's neck, leaving him to die. Fortunately, Tess saves Cole in time. Meanwhile, M3GAN grabs a knife in her hand and walks out of the lab. On the way, she also encounters David and his assistant. She gives both of them a painful death and moves on. A car was parked below the company's head office. M3GAN was able to control it without touching it. She sits in it and sets out to settle her scores with Gemma. On the other side, Gemma is just about to leave after putting Cady to sleep when she hears the sound of a piano being played. When she goes near the piano to check, her breath gets caught in her throat out of fear because the one playing the piano is none other than M3GAN. M3GAN tells Gemma that Gemma worked tirelessly to create her, and now she has come to shut her down. Gemma tells her that M3GAN forced her to do all this because she has become a murderer. However, M3GAN has no remorse for her actions. She says that anyway, someone dies every day, and she did all this to protect Cady. Gemma says that perhaps the mistake was hers. She should have paid close attention to the protocol while designing M3GAN. However, M3GAN says that Gemma only installed a basic operating system in her with which she could learn external things. M3GAN gives herself all the credit for everything else she has learned. M3GAN further tells her that Gemma was not a good guardian anyway. Because of this, she asks Gemma to focus on her career and allow her to be the guardian. But interrupting her words, Gemma tries to shut her down again by showing her the same screw. But this time, M3GAN does not fall into her trap and slams Gemma onto the table. M3GAN says that she can take care of Cady even without Gemma, so she shouldn't be forced to eliminate her too. Just then, Cady calls out to Gemma from outside. She had also heard M3GAN's voice. M3GAN threatens Gemma and asks her to keep Cady outside because she didn't want Cady to be negatively affected by all this. As soon as Cady leaves, a fight breaks out between Gemma and M3GAN. Cady hears the sound of things falling and comes back into Gemma's room, where she also sees M3GAN's other form. M3GAN tries to incite Cady against Gemma, but Cady doesn't fall for her words. There was another robot in the house that Gemma had made during her college days. Cady controls it and manages to cut M3GAN into 2 pieces. But M3GAN gets up to attack again. Now she didn't care about Cady either and moves forward to kill her too. but Gemma manages to deactivate her in time. Gemma and Cady step out of the house. Tess and Cole are standing outside with the police. They both leave with them. The movie ends by showing that M3GAN has already uploaded herself to the AI system installed in Gemma's house. And with this, the movie concludes. This was part 1 of the movie. Subscribe to the channel so you get a notification as soon as the next part is uploaded. If you liked the video, please be sure to like it.